Hello everyone, I am Rohit Vats from News 18 and hello Rahul, hello Tripti, hello Anvita. So I will just
Hi.
start with the director that how does it feel to direct a horror film like which is where you need actors to behave according to their imagination rather than what is in front of them.
So the first thing is that I don't see it as a horror film. It's more like a fairy tale, like a supernatural. But yes, that it is not real. The world is not real, but the emotions are real, and that is true for all fantasy writing. That your people, their emotions, what they are going through, is something that is universal, that you will identify with, even though the world might be hyper real or unnatural or like a fairy tale. So the emotions are real, and therefore it's easy to, especially when you have good actors, it's easy to direct them to perform the role that way. And the world, I can make it whatever, it could be on another planet, but the emotions would remain the same.
Right. So on that note, I will ask Rahul. So, what was your first reaction when this story came to you?
I loved it. When I read the script, I called Anvita in 2 hours. I didn't wait for the next day. And I we only talked about the script. We didn't talk about my role.
Mhm.
I was so impressed by the emotional pull of the film. And Anvita's right. It's not a horror film. It's a supernatural film. But it's not that it is full of chills and thrills and oh and yeah. That's not
Jump
happening in this
scares.
film, as you know. You've seen it. So I loved the emotional arc of Bulbbul. I loved what happens to her and how she comes out of it after dying, so to speak. I loved talking about my characters, in fact, um, bad and very bad people. But I loved the way they were written because they were so complex and yet so believable. It was the only question I asked her is that, are you sure you want me? Are you sure you don't want some other actor to do it? And now you'll have to ask her why she cast me. But one of the reasons why she may have cast me is because in those days she used to be riding a Luna Majestic moped, and I bought her a three wheeler. I bought her an auto rickshaw. And next film from a three wheeler, I'll buy her maybe a four wheeler, small four wheeler car. And then after that, when she becomes extremely rich and powerful and she has fancy cars, then I'll buy her a cycle because I'll tell her that now you have to be green. Now you have to be with the whole ecological movement. So this is my plan to do the next four films with Anvita.
Acha, I was also like because the film is set in an era where you guys were not supposed to talk a lot because your character, like characters, like what you played, so they used to express everything through silence. So, what was your understanding of the character?
Are you asking me, Rohit?
Yes, yes, this is for you, Rahul.
Uh, you're right. I think the most attractive thing to me as an actor over the last 27 years has been the unsaid. जो स्क्रिप्ट पे नहीं लिखा हो, डायलॉग्स के बीच में जो एक समय मिलता है, what happens to the character in those parts. So I love directors and writers who write where the acting is done in the silences, where the acting is done in the reacting. So I really enjoyed the spaces that she gave because there is so much to do in this film, as you very rightly put. So much is unsaid, but that doesn't mean it is unfelt. It's all felt, but very few things are said. In fact, some of the things that are said are not what the character is feeling.
True.
So it is so that subtext that runs through the whole film as a thread is always a mark of a well-written film, in my opinion. Especially as an actor, I find them the most attractive.
So I will bring the same question to Tripti also, because in a way the entire film is dependent on her. So how did you react to it initially, and then once you settle down in the character, what was the thought process?
So when I first, heard the narration from Anvita, I was totally gripped throughout the narration because this is exactly the kind of script and exactly the kind of story that I was, wanting to do. Post my first film, people often say that your second film is more important. You know, whether you'd be staying in the industry or not is totally dependent on your second film. And this is exactly what I was looking for. My character in the film has an amazing graph. It goes from being this person who's always insecure, who has no sense of self, who is, uh, always in control, always calculating things. Anvita used to always compare her to a diamond, that she's this girl who, doesn't have any emotion of herself. She's, if you expect her to be happy, she'll be happy. If you expect her to be sad, she'll be sad. If you expect her to, be anxious, she'll be anxious. So the journey of this character was what was really interesting for me because I, as an actor, had a lot to play with. And it was definitely challenging for me, especially to understand the transformed Bulbul's mindset. And we had to really work hard on that. And, because that's the one, the other one who doesn't really talk at all. Whatever she's just saying through her eyes. And, she's mostly quiet and very calm. So we had to really really work on that bit, and for that I was just asked to focus on myself and my inner self basically. So that was our preparation for the
Uh,
Bulbul.
and and I was also wondering that there are times where your face is saying something else, but your actions are saying something else. Like you are doing something which is not said, and it gets very dark at times. So I was just wondering that did it take a toll on your mental health also, like while doing it?
No, it did not, because we did a lot of preparation for this. And as an actor, it's very important for you to understand that when you're on set, when you're in front of the camera, you're acting, and you're not, like, you can't let that person, or you can't let that person's mindset affect your own mindset, and you know uh, play with your own piece. So that's why we prep for characters. And in fact, I was more relaxed while doing the 25-year-old Bulbul. I was at peace. I was comfortable in my own skin while playing her. That was our preparation for her. you know that's a person who's very calm. And I was asked to focus on my breath. I was asked to focus on my inner self, and not think about anybody else. So that's what I was doing while I was playing the 25-year-old. So I think it was more relaxing for me than taxing.
So Rahul, this is kind of one of the darkest roles you have played. Because we know you as somebody like who gets into the character but keeps it very calm, but this time it's calm and cruel rather than calm and composed. So what was what was the thought process, like how were you thinking about it while going through the shooting and everything?
But the thought process was, this is the end of my career. Uh, so all the sadness, all the fatigue was that, this is it. The last few steps I'm going to take in my life. But seriously, my God, it was exhausting. It was exhausting to play somebody who, Indraneel I'm talking about now, to play somebody who has such an ego, such a sense of self, Mr. Perfect. Even when he does what he does, Rohit, he still thinks he's done the right thing. You
Yeah.
know, he has no. शायद उसके बाद थोड़ा सा doubt हो तो वो निकल जाता है. He leaves. But if you ask him today, would you do the same thing again? He would say, I didn't do anything. She made me do it. This is misogynistic, violent men across the world are very good at rationalizing and saying, I didn't do anything. I'm a good guy. I'm a peaceful guy. I'm a loving guy. Look how I treated her all these years. She's the one who has made me do this.
Who
So,
made me do it?
yeah, to play somebody like that is so, on the one hand, repulsive for me as a human being. But you have to do it, convincingly. And for that, you have to go to very dark places. Uh, I did a film called I Am, where I played a homosexual who is caught by the police, and then he abuses me sexually so that I will not go to jail. And it's a very dark place to go: humiliation, abuse, all of this. Similarly, here, it's a very dark place to go where you have to justify completely cleanly all your violence. As far as playing Mahendra was concerned, uh, very interesting because he doesn't have any thoughts. He's stuck at the age of maybe 9 or 10 in his head. So, and yet at one point of time, because you've seen the film and parts of this interview will come out after the film, so I'll request you obviously to use this after. Is
Yes,
that,
yes.
and yet he's a 40-year-old man with the lust and the loins and the desire of a man who can take anything he wants to because he's the zamindar. After all, he's also a zamindar. Well, he might not be handling the day-to-day affairs. So everything has come to him easily. So there is that which he knows that he can grab something, ye mera hai, mil jayega. Mujhe ye chahiye, mil jayega. So under that unthinking 11-year-old's head, at one point lust kicks in, and I have to own this. This I have to get. And the violence of what he does after that, I think, um, very, very, very hard to do. And I'm sure you have a question about that, which we will answer in more detail. But that was a very, very both roles, I mean, were exhausting, but very rewarding to be a part of a film where the message is not that you have to be evil, where the message is not that you can grab anything you want. The message is quite the reverse. That if you
Right.
do evil and if you take everything for granted and you wreak violence on other people, it will come back to you in some form or the other. And I think that that message is what kept me optimistic, idealistic, and happy to do the film. But as I said, the heart is heavy because this is the end of the career. Now, what to do?
And this question is for you, Anvita. So, why did you set the film during this period of 1881 and 1901? So, because Zamindari was even before that, even after that. What was, in fact, there are a couple of references in the film about philosophers and everything. So, I went back and checked that they were indeed during that period only. So, the research was like thorough. But I was just wondering that even if you had to set, because Bengal zamindars are not shown in this way in many films. Most of the time, they are very benevolent. They will wear good clothes and dhaka wala malmal and all that. But this time, this is not dhaka ka malmal at all.
वो कहते हैं ना वो ढाके के मलमल के अंदर तलवार छुपी हुई है.
हाँ.
So but so when I started writing, it just so happened. I think I wanted to tell a fairy tale, और वो fairy tale मुझे मुझे बंगाल बहुत सुंदर लगता है. I really find it very beautiful. It appeals to my aesthetics, especially of that time period. जो neoclassical time period था, सबसे सुंदर time period था. Architecture को ले लीजिए, whether it's the clothes or the jewelry or the even the cups and saucers they used at that time. Aesthetically, it was very beautiful. But I think somewhere it was also maybe Tagore's stories are set around that time. And I am deeply moved by how Tagore portrays his women. He has such a sensitive gaze towards his women who are very helpless and caught in that time period, and that the the society and the way people look at them and how they are treated and how they're limited to the walls of the house. That always appealed to me, because even in modern times, I feel the walls are there, you just can't see them,
True.
but you sometimes encounter them. So I was actually setting it in that period and setting it in Bengal and everything. I was writing a fairy tale. It's just those are the things I enjoy. So initially, when you're writing what you love. And so that's why I set it there. And then the period and everything added a layer to the storytelling and to the messaging. So
Now,
that's
when I have already seen the film, I must say that when I was watching the film, I actually realized that those layers that you are talking about actually added a lot to your film, because that gave it a particular look and feel. So, and on that note, I will ask Tripti that from Laila Majnu said there was this hint of madness, but this time it's like gone out of control. So,
Hint of what?
hint that there was
Madness.
a tinge of madness, but this time like your character is completely out of control. So, how did you like? What was the natural progression in terms of shooting?
So, so obviously, this was, very challenging for me to play because my character goes through a lot, in the entire process of the film. But we did prepare a lot for the part. I had literally 2 months before the shoot of the film to get into my character's skin. And me and Anvita, I sat extensively with her for those 2 months where we would, sit and discuss the character in detail. We would uh, discuss Bulbbul in detail and draw her backstories, and that really helped. And post that, I had my separate sessions with all my co-actors, and especially with Avinash because I had we've done a film together, so we had to unlearn whatever we'd done with Leila Majnu and become Satya and Bulbul for this film. So I think it's the preparation that we did.
Also, did you have you seen the final film?
Yes, I've seen it.
You did not get scared of your own character.
No, I didn't get scared of her. I think I'm in love with her and with Anvita's world.
So
I think
on that,
scary things are beautiful.
so
I also want
on
to
that,
add something here where we, like she said, we prepped a lot. All of us, my actors and I, prepped for 2 months before the film started extensively, and they were so fabulous. They worked so hard and they brought beautiful performances to the table. We also workshopped with Atul Mongia for 10 days each character, and that also helped us reach where
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
seeing all these nuances, and all of that also helped. So it's yeah, it's been a great journey in terms of performances.
it's a very slow burn kind of film. So even if it's one of those films which will remain with you for a long time because of its feel, the darkness, the haziness, and everything. So so guys, on that note, my time is up. But all the best for your film.
Thank
Thank you,
Thank you
you.
Rohit.
so
Thank you so much.
much. Thank you.